Okay, planning board meeting is now open, December 4th. December already. First thing on our agenda, Ron Terowitz, discussion of Route 44 Route 44 Church Street and Orchard Ave properties. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Jack Jacoby. I'm an attorney with offices at 144 Bank Street in Attleboro, and I represent Ron. And the simpler project is the Orchard Avenue division. What I'd like to do actually is have Dan Aguiar come up, the engineer who drew this, and perhaps explain to you what it is we're seeking your guidance on. There are 3 or 4 different ways to do this, and so we would like to get your input.
Okay. Do we have the laser pointer?
We do.
If you could,
Can we turn the microphone around?
yeah, you can spin the microphone, and I don't want you to stand in front of the plan so people at home can see that we are talking about Orchard Avenue, which is an existing street off of Orchard Street. So please state your name for the record.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Dan Aguiar. I'm a civil engineer at SciTech Engineering with addresses at 449.
Put the microphone, he can hear you. No, leave it on. Just leave it on the thing there. It's too loud. There you go.
With addresses at 449 Fawns Corner Road in Dartmouth. As Attorney Jacoby had stated, Ron has this parcel of land that you've seen at other times at the end of what is Orchard Avenue and then bordered by Route 24 and the easterly direction. The scheme that we have up before you now, and it's on the first sheet of the schemes that I gave you, is a conventional subdivision layout showing 3 possible parcels with a separate drainage lot extending Orchard Avenue with a cul-de-sac. We had gone over this with the board a few times and had actually submitted almost a full design, grading, drainage, and everything else. The cost of constructing this cul-de-sac, because of the elevation difference from the end of Orchard Avenue here to the top of our site, and the improvements that we would have to make coming back down Orchard, tying into water, a number of the improvements, Ron felt was insurmountable and didn't make sense for a 3-lot scheme. We had also been in a few other times discussing potential other schemes with you, most notably 2-lot schemes, and you have a couple of them in your package before you. The first one that you see would be a 2-lot scheme with your normal size cul-de-sac at the end of it. And then after that, you have another 2-lot scheme.
Mr. Aguiar, you talked about drainage and topography.
Correct.
Very briefly, what's high, what's low, where are things going to flow?
Right now, I brought a copy of the grading and the drainage plan that we had done back in 2007, actually. Right now, as you're coming up Orchard Avenue, right along this location here, we change in elevation from 40 to 65, so a 25-foot elevation difference in about 100 feet. Now, we could construct a roadway and take out that hill. We could construct a roadway at a 6% slope, which was the requirement in the regulations, and then create drainage in this area. In the back edge of this hill, there is a bordering vegetated wetland. So this site now currently drains down Orchard Avenue and then would run to the left as it hits this face. So we would be keeping the same face, but just flattening it out if we had to put the road through. But it would, like for instance, this line is the existing contour of the center line of the road. This is what we would have to build in order to meet the center line requirements and the grade requirements for the subdivision. So the construction cost of doing this, running water line all the way down, sidewalks, if we had to meet all of the requirements of the planning board rules and regulations, becomes a very expensive road to get 3 lots out of. Ron would like to do a 2-lot scheme. However, to do a 2-lot scheme, we've got 2 different methods, basically. One, to ask for many waivers of your construction standards, either with a cul-de-sac or with a T. Or the second option would be to do a waiver of frontage plan, which would be the last one in your package, because Orchard Avenue currently extends in this area, however, it's not constructed. So the area you see shaded in gray, that would have to be built anyway, because that's the portion of the existing Orchard Avenue. And if we were to construct that, we could petition the zoning board of appeals and then this board for a waiver of frontage allowing the 2 lots. That's another idea. So Ron had just wanted to come in and pick your brain as to the 3 schemes, well, really the 2. One of the 2-lot schemes, either would the board be willing to grant waivers for construction for reducing the lot numbers from 3 to 2, or would they be in support of the waiver of frontage plan?
First of all, I would like to welcome our Boy Scout. And what's your name?
Nicholas Winters. Nicholas Winters.
Nicholas Winters. Well, welcome to the planning board meeting. Mr. Gallagher did tell us that you were going to be here. And if you have any questions, you can just raise your hand and we'll answer any questions you have. All right? And we don't bite, so.
We can let him decide which one.
Yeah, which one do you like? I'm going to give this young gentleman the laser pointer and you pick. You want to talk to him before he picks? Christmas is coming.
Well, I would say, I'm happy to get 2 rather than 3 lots, less children in the schools, et cetera, less road to maintain. And really, I don't care which one of the 3. I start off with the fire department. I think they might want the T, but whatever they say, I would tend to go with.
Well, what the T does is it allows us to perform the construction activities at the toe of that slope, and then the homes would just be up sitting on top. So that would be the most advantageous construction way to do it. However, I do understand, that would require a different configuration than what the planning board normally would allow for a right-of-way, not being the cul-de-sac. So if the board is in support or understanding of that fact, that due to the contours on the site, that a T would make more sense, and as long as the fire department was okay with it, then that's probably the direction that we would go.
Do we have, I think before we decide about waivers for drainage, we should ask,
Well, we don't necessarily need,
can I finish?
we're not gonna need any,
Well, you don't want to put any drainage in.
no, we're gonna put drainage in. I meant with the pavement, sidewalks, the different types of curb.
So where are you proposing drainage?
We could put the drainage in this area here. Same place that we would put it if we did a 3-lot scheme. This is the lowest lying area here that discharges to the wetland that runs in the back of this property.
Okay, so at the entrance of Orchard Ave, there's already catch basins there?
Orchard Ave now, currently, there is a high point that runs through the site here. So basically, at the end of the existing pavement,
Yeah, but from Orchard Ave, the beginning, the entrance of Orchard Ave,
Yeah.
is there catch basins?
this runs this way, from Orchard, from the end of the pavement. So we would just need to be controlling the end of the pavement to our site.
Okay, I'll ask that question again. Are there catch basins, manholes at the entrance to catch that water? Right there, coming down?
The water that's coming down there
Yes,
now,
the existing water that's coming down.
there is a drainage system in Orchard Street. I don't know if the catch basins are
All
directly
right,
at
well,
the
you're showing 2
intersection.
aren't those catch basins that you're showing?
No, those are bounds,
Well, these are bounds.
yes.
So this water that's running down, we don't know where,
Right now, this is the end of the existing pavement.
yep,
This runs downhill right now. This runs downhill that way.
okay,
So
so
anything we would construct, we would control.
I understand. What I'm looking at is, does Orchard Ave need drainage? I think we should ask Highway Department if we've had issues with Orchard Ave on bleeding out into Orchard Street. And is it a problem? Has there been a problem? If not, fine. And the reason why I'm asking that, because maybe if we can do some improvements on Orchard Ave, then it might allow the board to consider other things. So I think that would be the first thing I'd like, to find out. And again, I don't, the only time I've seen flooding on Orchard Street is when catch basins clog up and, so I don't see it being a problem, but unless we ask Highway, I won't know.
Okay.
If it's-
I can just jump in, I think, obviously, we have to ask the fire department what their preference is, and obviously, we have to talk to the highway department. But I guess what we're asking is, all things being equal, would you be inclined to grant a plan that looked like one of these two lot subdivisions?
I completely understand what you're asking for. And I would say yes, myself, like Mr. Fountain said. I personally like the turnaround. I like the cul-de-sac part, only because we're not looking at two houses. We're looking at, how many houses are on Orchard Ave?
Well, there's one home on this lot that accesses Orchard Street. This lot accesses Orchard Street. So this is the only home now that actually.
Wait.
utilizes the-
That house on the corner of Orchard Ave?
Yeah.
Where's their driveway?
I believe it's right out here.
No, it's not.
No, it's off of this one.
It's off of that one. Both of those houses,
This one and this one?
yeah, and the
Okay.
first one is, that's that brick house, I believe.
It was McDermott at the
No,
time.
not that one, the
This
other,
one?
yeah, on that corner.
I know this one, we have the driveway located, so I know that this one definitely does come out.
Yeah,
onto
so
Orchard.
both of those, so you have, if you go with two.
Worst case, 5 lots,
Right.
which 3 of them have been living with just a straight dead end
Mhm.
up until now. So any improvement with turnaround would create, an enhanced safety atmosphere for them.
Russ, what's your opinion?
I'm pretty open if everybody's, fire department, highway department, everybody's on board. We usually kind of look at it, if you could do it by normal means, then we kind of let people play around with it and do it different ways, and
Right.
it kind of looked like they could. Might not be cost effective, but looks like it's physically possible.
Because when we had looked at it originally for the conventional scheme and full build-out, the board was adamant that granite curb, sidewalks all the way out to Orchard Avenue, new curb on all of Orchard Avenue, because there isn't none now. So that it was going to be not only building this, but also upgrading basically all of Orchard Avenue. So the costs just become, we're looking at 700 or 800 feet of road for 3 lots. Just doesn't make sense.
Especially with the value of lots.
Please,
Sorry.
What were you,
Well, on that point, I know that Mr. Turowitz wants a first-class road, so obviously we're going to give it. But I was going to say, I tend to like a T because it's definitely, the cul-de-sac seems to wander a bit and it's harder to plow. But I can go with either. I have a question on this plan. Overlap of plans and deeds,
Correct.
what does that mean?
That means that the deed description for the parcels is different than the plan of record for the parcel and from the monumentation that's shown out there. So the professional land surveyor has to make a determination of what to hold.
Okay.
So,
now, could you state your name for the record, please? You have something to say?
My name's Ron Turowitz, and I'm the owner of the land, but I'm all set.
And what's your address?
I live on Cape Cod in Hyannisburg.
Okay. You don't have a question? You're all
So
set?
I'm all set.
Okay. I didn't mean to shut you off, but
No, you didn't.
you just have to make sure you address the board. Yes.
So, tomorrow morning, I'll reach out to the highway department and the fire department to determine which configuration they prefer, and ask the highway department if there have been any drainage issues historically out there.
I would like for the engineer to do that.
Okay.
because he's going to be able to provide information that we may not have from what, their information that they have. And this way here, whatever we decide or the board decides to do, our approval will be based on their expertise in their statements and not our statements.
But we'd like to make sure we get something back in writing from
Sure.
this department.
Oh, yeah.
so we can for our files.
You can reach out to both of them and
Yep.
just say, we'll be expecting a letter from next.
Okay.
You can send them an
Will do.
email that, we'll be expecting a letter.
Yep.
Uh,
Let them know that they'll be contacting them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we submitted anything formally to the board, we'd make sure that those letters were in here.
So I think, like Mr. Brown said, Russ, if the highway department, fire department, if they don't have, issues with the T, I know that 25-foot is a major hill, and it could, if we do the circle, it may cause some problems for highway department in the future. So, in your letter, the email that you're gonna send Ed, I would just ask him to, we're gonna want his input on, does he like a turnaround for plowing, or does he like the T? But when he's looking at it, keep in mind of the elevation, the drastic elevation difference. Because you are planning on having this accepted by the town and taken over by the town?
We would like that to happen, because it was more likely to remain private, and that's the way it has to.
Well, I think it's going to have, if it's going to become a public road, you're going to spend a lot more money building a nicer road
I
than
understand.
if it stays private.
Yeah. Those are all things we can discuss when we.
Yeah.
We just wanted to gauge if the board would be willing to grant some waivers if we went with the 2 lots.
So, if that's the case, then, the only thing I don't like about that is town is gonna be coming in here plowing, and then it hits private. Those trucks are gonna wanna keep going. They're gonna have to do
Well,
something.
the town's going to have an easement.
Okay, but if it's, so the town can still plow and maintain the road?
I mean, it would be whatever your approval was. If it was that plowing would be done by the town, and maintenance would be done by us, however, I mean, it can be anybody.
Well, I think, how much do you plan on, you're going to pave it no matter what?
Whatever you're gonna require for us to do,
But
yes.
if you had your way,
If we had, yes, it would.
you'd still be paving.
Sure.
Orchard Ave doesn't currently have sidewalks, correct?
It has nothing.
All right, well, to answer your question, yes, we are open.
Okay. So we'll. do
We
our-
have an awful lot of, I guess, questions
Right.
that need to be answered before we can
But you're
decide.
You're receptive to the T scheme, and we have the homework to do.
At this point, yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. The other piece of property is a bit bigger.
Excuse me, John, do you have this one here?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Yeah.
The other piece of property is a bit bigger, so, and that one, I do have a question on the interpretation of your bylaw on. I don't know, but perhaps it would be better if Dan explained that plan to you, so then we could.
Okay,
I can
so-
explain to you my question is.
Explain where we are.
Okay.
So people can understand where we
The
are.
parcel that we are discussing now would be on the south side of Route 44, just east of Church Street. This would be the Metro Ford dealership in this corner here, the Taunton River along our easterly boundary. I think you've seen this piece on a number of instances over the years. And just before Richard McCarthy had left, he was working on the original ARC, Adult Retirement Community bylaw, and we had worked with him a little bit on that. At that time, our hands were tied with the site because we did not have municipal water and sewer. As you know, sewer is currently being installed along Church Street, So that now gives us the ability to move ahead, hopefully, with an adult retirement community plan. So what I've given you tonight is, again, this is just basic renderings, a conventional layout, meeting all of the subdivision requirements and lot sizes, coming up with a 27-lot subdivision plan. The second plan that you have there would be a schematic of what our potential adult retirement community would look like. And it's on a number of the requirements and regulations in association with the adult retirement community that we had some questions on, and we're hoping to get that cleared up this evening. Attorney Jacoby will ask a couple in a minute, but I would like to ask you a few, and maybe if you may know the answer, you may not. The first question I had was with regards to the upland requirement on the 10,000 square foot lots itself. I couldn't find anywhere in the bylaw what that minimum requirement is, if there is one, or is it just enough to be able to fit and build a house on? There is a 10,000 square foot lot requirement, but it doesn't say what percentage of the lot needs to be upland. I don't know how many of these you've done.
Well, we only have one in town. Now, this area was zoned for,
This, right now, if you look on your plan, you'll see that there is
I see the
a
line.
dividing line with business to the Route 44 side, and then residence A right behind it. You see the line? Zoning line here. And that was one of the questions that Attorney Jacoby and I had, was with regards to the land that is in the residential A district. The bylaw specifically reads that a special permit can be granted for an ARC in business and in industrial. It doesn't make any reference to residence A. But then in one of the following
Yeah,
paragraphs.
Let me jump in there again. Looking at the rest of your bylaw, Residence A basically allows single-family detached residences. And so, looking at that, I said, okay, well, it seems to be saying that what you could normally do in an industrial business zone, which would not be single-family residences, you can do by special permit in the industrial business zone. And I heard through the grapevine that perhaps some in town believe that it could not be allowed in the Residence A zone. But I also look at the density requirements that are found in 18.4A, and there is a density for ARC units for a residential zoning district, and then a separate one for an industrial or business zoning district. So, reading the bylaw, and not having the experience that you have with it, or having participated in drafting it, which I'm sure you did, it strikes me that it's allowed as a matter of right, as opposed to a special permit, of course, meeting all the subdivision requirements, in the Residence A zone, and it's allowed by special permit in the industrial business zone. And so therefore, if the plan straddles the zone line, it still requires a special permit. Most of it's in the industrial business zone. But I don't read your bylaw as saying that it is not allowed to have some of the lots in the Residence A zone. Now, just someone who read it for the first time yesterday, those are my thoughts.
First time yesterday?
We haven't read it in about 10 years now, so we're going to have to go back and take a look.
Before we continue, too, I think I want to make it known on the record that I am a direct abutter to this piece, and I would need permission from Mr. Terowitz and counsel that you are aware I am a direct abutter, and that you feel that there's no conflicts. I don't have a financial interest in your piece, so I don't feel that I need to excuse myself.
If you feel that way, then we feel that way.
So
That's not a problem.
I just need that to be stated.
I know that, and I have no problem.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, the question only involves this portion of the site that falls in the residence district. But it does make a difference in our density, of whether or not that can be utilized for our conventional plan, and can it be utilized in the ARC plan. Once we get to the ARC plan, 75 feet of it is going to be buffer zone anyway. So we're really only using a very small portion of it.
Well, I
But-
think, like Mr. Fountain said, we'll have to read on that. I know we included industrial because the one 55 and older development that we do have in town is on an industrial piece. And the zoning did not get changed. We changed where the location of 55 and older could go.
Right.
So that's why the industrial is in there.
Yeah.
The other thing I think we should keep in mind, this falls in the designated marijuana development district. So,
I'm unfamiliar with
well,
Both sides of the street or only across
Yes.
the street?
it runs right to the,
It's 500 feet to the north and south of Route 44.
so that's another, something that if we have residential houses, can somebody grow and sell marijuana? Or can, somebody 55 and older, 500 feet in, can
If
they?
If you were to approve this and you required us to put a deed restriction in that no one could do that.
Well, the only problem is,
That-
we had to locate an area in town, we had to identify it. It got approved at the town meeting, and for us to do a deed restriction, now we're taking land away, and I'm not sure that the
Well,
state would.
If you didn't do it, but we did it privately when we went to sell, that would not be your action.
Again, that would be something we just need to,
Well, if they choose to do a homeowners association like they have at Berry Hill Estates, the town has no zoning enforcement over the conditions within a homeowners association. It's
Right.
considered private, so.
Which is exactly what
all right, one at a time,
Yeah, which is exactly what we do.
Yeah.
We'd have a homeowners association
All right.
here because there's common area that has to be.
well, again, I just want to bring that up because that was just done at the last town meeting. I don't see that Raynham would be getting a marijuana growing facility, but
Well,
it is zoned for that.
either way, you're going to have to put a street out onto Route 44.
Excuse me, question
You're
again?
going to have to build a street that
Yes.
runs out onto
Yes.
Route 44.
Yes, absolutely.
And you've got some wetland crossings either way, too, it looks like.
Yeah, not a lot.
I don't know, I saw a couple of turtles the other day.
Well, there may be. We have special expertise in those. On the site that we just did up in in Lakeville on Route 44.
So, looking at it and knowing the area, I think, I like the 55 and older project. We kind of got stuck on our last one, meaning the developer went out of business.
His timing was bad.
His timing was bad, they went out of business. Unfortunately, there was 5 or 6 homeowners in there with, I don't know how many, 30 lots left, 20-something lots left, and it was just a disaster for 6 years.
I did wonder about that. I presume you've done some marketing homework and you feel there's a market for this.
I do.
How is that Berry Hill one doing?
I think very well. I went through there tonight, before I came into town hall. And the job looks terrific to me. I know there's weeds growing up by the side of the road and everything, but the houses are nice. One woman was out with her daughter, or it must be her granddaughter, and she gave me a big wave. They were walking the dog, and
She thought you were moving in the neighborhood, that's why
well,
she
yeah.
gave me a big wave.
They think
She's
that. I
single.
don't know why. I gotta.
But they're selling well?
I don't see any for sale signs in there.
Well, but how many empty lots?
I'd have to look at, but I don't think there are too many.
No, I think they-
No more than 5 or 6 left.
I think they did well, they have done well since Turner Construction took it over.
Yeah.
So, they are selling, and I did even see in one of the real estate magazines that there's a resale. somebody's selling one that was already, that has been in there. So, again, the reason why I like the 55 and older, I like all of the common land along the Taunton River. I just preserved 2,000 feet on my parcel along the Taunton River, and I've been working with the Wildland Trust for a conservation easement with them. And I do like having no houses or no building all along the Taunton River, because I think that would be something, they have been focusing on the Taunton River for years, and I'm sure you know. And that would be something nice. And the other piece that I like is, on the front piece, in the subdivision, you're showing two houses. And right on Church Street, there's a house up front here. And instead of her having two people in her backyard, again, this is common land, so it's all open land. And I just see the living space and the living areas, the way it's being developed on this plan, seems so much nicer than the residential subdivision plan,
Conventional.
the conventional subdivision. So, yes,
And hypothetically, if this comes forward as an ARC, would the board be willing to explore some kind of affordability percentage or component with this to help with our 10%?
it'd be something we could look at.
I'm sure there'll be some balancing act between waivers that we may be requesting, construction waivers and need for additional affordable.
And I guess when and if we get to that point, I think we would need background information.
Right.
On how does an affordable fit for the applicant and for the town on a 55 and older.
Right.
So we know how it fits on a conventional subdivision, we already know, but I don't know how it would work there, so we would need some information, some background information, so both sides understands.
So the specific zoning questions that we have, should Attorney Jacoby pen a letter to the zoning enforcement officer or to the planning board with specific questions that he would like to have answered? Is that probably the best way to do it?
On zoning?
Well, on
the
questions of the
question
bylaw.
of can we count the single residence A?
I would
Any
do it,
questions that we have.
I would do it to the zoning enforcement officer.
Okay.
Especially regarding like the upland requirements.
And,
for the lot.
and you can, also
CC.
CC John, and that way that John will get it, because he works close with the building inspector. And I think that would be your first go-around, is check with him. He'll let you know exactly what the town's interpretation is.
And you can do a single-family house on 30,000 square feet
In the business district,
zone.
yes. Same frontage of 150, upland requirements 24,000 instead of 32,000. But yeah, industrial and business are both 30,000 square foot requirements, which is what actually helps you in the density. I had thought that's why that you had put it in those two zones, because that actually helps your arc density, because the allowable lots were smaller. And on our plan, the lots that we have on our conventional plan in the residential district meet the residential zoning requirement.
And I think why we have that in there is way back when we had a town planner, 2 town planners ago, he looked at the town maps and said, look at this piece of property we have. It's sitting out in no man's land. With industrial, they can do this, 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 this. With residential, if we change the bylaw regs and the bylaw that would encourage residential development, then maybe we would push residential development to these certain areas. This wasn't one of them, and that came up, and this was over 10 years ago that I remember over in Gilmore Hall having meetings on, and I think it was,
With the tap dancers upstairs.
yeah, with the seniors bouncing around upstairs. The one that I think that was, that came up was Gardner Street. Do you remember Gardner Street, the pit?
Yep.
All of that area in there. I remember Richard bringing that in front of us, and I know we spent a few meetings few meetings over there, trying to come up with, and I think that's why it was, because I think that area there, it's all surrounded by residential, except on the west side of it, I think. So, it is in our bylaw, and you can take advantage of that, depending on whichever way we decide to go, or you decide to
One
go.
other question we'd like to seek your advice and input on. If you notice, we have the road, starting at Route 44 and ending at Church Street. But as we read your bylaw, you need 75 feet buffer from the residences for this roadway. Obviously, we don't have that. We don't have 150 plus the width of the road to do that. Now, you also have the ability, if we made this a dead end here, to give us a dead end waiver and have only one entrance.
That won't
But
happen.
it strikes me that your fire department would go nuts, and perhaps your police department, if we were not to have this come out here. So I guess our
I don't
question is.
understand, and I guess, John, that's the first I've heard of that. None of our plans, if our bylaw says that, you want to just check, because that might be something that we,
It's 1811D, when it talks about screening. The last sentence of the screening says, "The primary roadway shall not be within 75 feet of a residential property." Not even zone, residential property. Now, whether you consider that primary or not, that would be up to the board's discretion.
You're in screening.
Correct.
Right.
But at the last sentence of screening, it says the primary roadway. So it's not just talking about screening, it's saying the roadway.
I mean,
All right, so
The screening shall be 75 feet in width to all abutting properties that are either zone residential or currently having a residential use.
Right, but it's the
And
last
that can be
sentence.
waived to 25 feet, I think it says in there, too.
Right, but the point is that I think everyone would like to see this road come out here. And so I guess what we're asking is, would you be inclined to grant a waiver from that? So as long as we had appropriate screening for the neighbors to make the road come out that way, because I can't believe your police or fire department would ever want to see a dead end.
Well, you would have 50-foot layout anyway. You'd have,
Whatever the board required.
no, what do you have? You would normally have a
That's
50,
40 drawn there now.
that's a 40-foot?
Correct, which I thought for an arc you could grant as a waiver to 40.
All right, grant as a waiver. Let's start without waivers.
Okay.
Do you have 50 feet?
Yes.
Okay,
What
so-
happens is Ron, I believe on the two lots that we're coming out, he's reserved fillets on those lots.
Okay, so,
Ron built those homes.
so you have 50, so you have 50 feet,
60,
so you have 50,
63 or something.
50-foot layout. The road is gonna be, what, 20, what have we been making roads, 26?
24.
No, 22 or 18.
22?
22.
So your measurement, from what I hear reading that, is going from the build-out, not the property line. 75 feet.
Still not
But
75
we don't
feet.
have 150 feet plus the width of the pavement.
But you will have something.
Yes, but we won't have 172 feet.
All right, well, I don't think in the past we've,
Well, I would say that if you help us with our 40B numbers and you knock off some lots, we will certainly reciprocate.
That's what I was saying, that once we discuss whatever waivers we're
You're
asking.
wearing out our
I don't know how to shut it
battery-powered.
off.
push the button.
I tried that. I don't want to break it.
Don't point that at Morgan's eyes. We
So I
need
guess the
that.
point is that you're open to working with us to make this work for public safety as well as.
You've taken up 40 minutes of our time to finally realize that we're an open board. You know, we do work with people.
I'm Captain Obvious.
We do work with people. And again, once we get all the specifics and we see everything that's in front of us, we like to say we will work with what's in the best interest of the town
And that's all we'd ever expect.
and not what's in the best interest of your client. So if it's in the best interest of the town,
Right.
then
But there are.
we are willing to,
I understand, I'm just going to say.
Make
in any-
concessions.
In any plan of this size, there are always compensating factors on both sides, and usually reasonable people can reach an accommodation.
very
We are-
good.
We are reasonable people.
We're the most three reasonable of the board. The other two that's not here tonight, I can't speak for them.
We have a lot of homework to do, because we haven't looked at this bylaw in a long time, so.
Do you have any questions so far? No?
Okay, well, I want to thank you for giving us this 40 minutes. It's been very helpful and will allow us to do our due diligence and then come back to you with appropriate plans.
Mr. Terowitz,
Yes.
next time you're on the agenda for discussion, you have 10 minutes.
Good evening. Enjoy your holidays.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Bassett Knoll Estates, continued public hearing. Can you, Russ, sign those through there? All right, so this is a continued public hearing, Bassett Knoll. And we have one issue, two members are not here. Chris and Henry, you need all of us, or majority.
4 out of 5, yes.
For the special permit. But that doesn't stop you from continuing to work with Niche, and if I recall, that list that Niche provided was
Yes.
quite extensive,
Yeah.
along with the highway department. He had a
department's
lot of
letter, yes.
concerns, the highway, and then I believe we're also waiting on a traffic study.
It's been
traffic count.
completed, it'll be submitted Monday, or tomorrow, actually.
Okay, so,
We just wanted to discuss some waivers with the board tonight, but we're not prepared to move forward with any of these members.
yeah,
We've made great progress with Niche and the technical issues. We had a meeting with John and Niche, and the highway.
Dave Buckley, yeah.
And Mr. Buckley. You know, we're very close, but I think there's the waivers are what we need to discuss with the board.
Okay,
So
well-
why don't we continue?
yeah, and I don't want to, we're not going to, I don't want to get into discussing them because it'll just be a
Right.
new point. One thing I will need from you is going to be an extension, time to act for the special permit. We put on here March 19th, that just gets us into,
What is the current, what is the current date? You know?
I-
Does John know?
Oh, it's
Oh.
mid-January. I don't have the file with me,
That sounds about right.
yeah, I think it was January,
but 19th or 23rd.
so we just bumped it out a couple of months just to make sure that with
When's the next meeting?
the holidays.
It might not be till January.
You don't think you'll have a meeting this month, another one?
If we do, we won't have another board member there.
Which board member?
Well, that
Actually,
doesn't,
it doesn't
matter which board members.
Well, no, I'm
But
thinking-
December 18th is our scheduled hearing, scheduled meeting. But with the holidays, we're thinking of, if we don't have a lot of things coming up, of taking that meeting off. And again, my hope would be that discussing waivers is one thing, but that list that we had was quite extensive, and if you can get through a lot of those
We have.
those details, it just makes it that much easier for this board to move forward discussing anything.
The meeting that we did have with the highway.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Sorry, Nick Harris, Lake Yard Lane, West Yarmouth, Mass.
Thank you.
A meeting that we had with Niche Engineering and Ed Buckley and John was very productive. We pretty much resolved all of the issues they had, other than the waivers that would be requested, so.
Well, I would, our first meeting in January is the 5th, I think?
That's my wife's birthday. Be easy to
The
remember.
15th.
The 15th.
The 15th is the first meeting?
I think the first Thursday is the first holiday.
I believe that's true.
That's New Year's Day.
Yes, it
I think
is.
it is.
So this, the
So
third.
so it's the 15th, so.
Okay.
All right.
Well, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to, this is, can I ask what the significance of March 19th is? Is that a meeting date?
That's,
meeting date?
that's the second meeting in March. It's just it's a date.
So you're 135. correct me if I'm wrong, the 135-day time period under the statute expires in mid-January. So it's up to you whether or not you want to grant an extension until March 19th, or
Yeah.
you could, if it's March 19th, you could do mid-February.
You can do anything you want. The only reason why I had Maureen put March 19th was, I would hate to see, we've come this far, I would hate to see the board deny the plan because of lack of information that we're not.
Or if we have a.
Well, I understand
we have a
that.
snowstorm or something, we have to
Couldn't I
take-
extend it at that time another month or not?
Well, no, we're going to meet in January, and in January, we're going to further extend it if we need to, right?
We can't, we don't like going from one meeting to the next.
Okay, so
So
let's
if
leave
we
it
have a
like
couple of
It's up to
meetings,
you, Nick.
No, I'll do
if
it.
we have a couple of meetings out there, it's not like we're,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what your timeframe is.
we didn't put 6 months on there, so.
Can we just get a copy of that? Maybe, even an email tomorrow or something.
So, we're gonna continue the public hearing for Bassett Knoll
Until January.
until January 15th, Maureen?
Yes.
And we'll put it on for 6:10, same time?
Okay.
Is it 15th, right?
Yes,
January 15th.
January 15th. At 6:10.
Okay.
And again, gives you
A lot of time,
a lot of time to get
everything resolved.
all through those
We're
issues.
confident we'll be wrapped up with everything about the discussion about waivers with you.
And what you can do too is you can send, does John have the list for waivers, that waiver requests?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we'll have John forward that to us, and
Okay.
that way we'll be prepared for the 15th.
One of the reasons why we're here tonight is we wanted to, and John, I think, has us on the agenda for an informal discussion
Yes.
for the 30 lot
Yep, you're.
plan.
So, let's finish off this one here. So, January 15th, 6:10, Bassett Knoll Estates is a continued public hearing. All right? So that is done. Now,
Great.
you are up for preliminary discussion for Bayberry Road Extension Plan. State your name again for the record.
Scott Henderson with McKenzie Engineering Group. Also here with us tonight, Brad McKenzie Engineering, Nick Harris. We're here to discuss a 30-lot subdivision.
Do you have the laser pointer, Maureen?
I have one.
If you could use your laser pointer pointing out.
And we have people at home who can't read that plan very well, so
Yeah.
tell them where the streets are and.
Okay. All right, this is a plan for a 30-lot subdivision that was originally part of the Bassett Knoll Estates subdivision that was permitted late 80s with revisions up until 1995. The area in question that we're discussing is over here. It abuts Route 495. There's Ram's Head Road just off to the north here that continues up Bayberry to Pleasant Street. Pleasant Street would continue down. And
Can I
Locust
interrupt
down in
you
this
for a minute?
direction.
Maureen, can you go get John, please? If we ask him for questions, I want him to be listening to what input. John, we're in the process of listening about Bayberry Road Extension, so I'd like to have you. All right,
Okay,
go ahead.
Continue. So back in the late 80s and up until 1995, there was a conventional subdivision approved for 30 lots in this area here. Because of,
What part of this is already built out on the plan we were just looking at?
none of it.
None of
No,
it?
those lots are created, they've been approved and recorded. But,
Rick, can you go back to
Yeah.
that one that you were just showing?
yes.
Which, to the left of that, that's all built out.
Well, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to clarify.
All of that, isn't that built out in there?
No.
No, it's-
Oh, that's
Thi-
not
this
built
is-
out.
This is
That's
the,
the sub-
this is
Oh,
what we
that's
just
the other
continued.
one.
That's the other one. So this was originally
Oh,
one
I'm
plan
sorry.
with two phases. So it included 70 lots here.
I thought that was
30
the
lots.
Bayberry Way
So,
and,
no, this is Locust Street here.
Okay.
This is the north entrance of that 70-lot subdivision. So,
So none of
we're now looking at the second phase of this project. We're now addressing it sort of as a separate endeavor.
now with this being approved prior to, so your approvals, are they all still good, still valid?
Yes, those lots have been created and those roads exist.
They exist?
As
They're-
paper streets.
In
There's
the
not-
assessor's office, and the,
Registry of Deeds.
tax bills are being issued by the year?
So there are 29 lots approved in that area. They're compliant with zoning, they're 40,000 square foot lots with adequate frontage, width, and whatnot. But at this point, we've gone out and redelineated the wetland line that's located along the southwest edge of the subdivision here. And that wetland line has creeped up, up gradient a little bit. There's also a 5.8 acre parcel located in here that is now part of the subdivision plan that was previously not there. So what we're doing is sort of re-subdividing, this area, that parcel.
Have you moved the roads any from what was approved?
Yes, we have. We'll show that. So, this is the subdivision concept that we've come up with. It's a conventional subdivision plan. It complies with all the dimensional regulations of the subdivision rules and regulations. These are 40,000 square foot lots with 150 feet of frontage as required in that zone. So, what we've done is basically taken where Bayberry Road exists up until this point, where it meets Ramshead Road. That's the point at which the road currently exists and is built. So what we'd be doing is we'd be extending from that point and creating this loop through here. So,
Okay, so let's get to the point. What's, you have a subdivision, it's already pre-approved, you've been paying taxes on it, go build on it. So, if you don't wanna build on it, and you have a new plan in front of us, then this is gonna have to start all over.
Correct.
yes, and
Okay,
that's
so
what we're
what's the-
doing.
What's your question? What are you here for?
We would like the board's thoughts on the plan as it stands here.
Our goal is to use this plan as the basis for preparing an open space development plan, using this as the conventional, okay? And,
But this is different than what was already approved.
Yes, it is.
So I don't understand how you can already keep your pre-approval based on,
Well, the approval exists, well, we just want to come in, and it exists until the point in time in which the permit is obtained to do something else, and then, as we discussed last time with the 70-lot plan, there'd be a condition in the approval that would render the previous plan null and void.
So what you're saying is you're really, although it's currently an approved subdivision, you're starting from scratch?
More or less.
Okay.
We're including a new parcel as one of the major points,
Okay.
that additional.
How long is your dead-end street?
So this road is constructed here to this point. From this point to the beginning of this loop is 440 feet.
And the previous one was how
Previous
long?
plan. To that. The approved roadway that's constructed to this point, to the beginning of that loop, is about 1,400 feet. So we're improving that. So we're beginning the internal loop, much closer to that existing.
Wasn't there another road to be put in or something? Because you can only have dead ends that are 1,350 feet, I think.
I mean, with this approved, there was plenty here, that's it.
Okay.
So you'll see that's right at the top edge of this.
Yep.
You'll see it there, but it's right at the edge of this point here.
Okay.
And again, the need to reconfigure it is really driven by the wetland line, which has changed in the last 15 years.
This has been before us so many times over so many years, I can't remember it all. But there used to be some wetland crossings, I thought, which were allowed under rules back then that aren't allowed now.
Did the 1990 plan involve a wetland crossing here?
I don't think the roadway involved a wetland
No.
crossing, no.
All right.
No.
Doesn't matter, I'm just.
No, we're
Can't keep it straight.
working around the wetlands. Again, the
Okay.
goal is to provide the requisite open space in an OSD plan,
Okay.
and not build this.
So I guess we're looking for some, input from the board. If we were to move forward with this as our yield plan, our preliminary plan to get approval, to then move forward to the OSPD. If you have thoughts on that.
Well, I would want to look back at the original subdivision plan and approval process, and because this is unlike the other portion of the subdivision where has all independent streets. You're working off of pre-existing streets. So I just want to.
The other one has pre-existing streets as well.
Yeah.
They're all approved paved
Yeah,
streets.
so if you look at this plan, all these lots, these exact lots in this plan, all exist. Those are recorded existing
So
parcels.
I could drive down there and drive through all those streets today?
No, they're not built.
Okay,
It's
well, that's
built,
what I'm saying.
But the lots exist.
So, then go back to the one we're talking about. The subdivision, Bayberry Road, right?
Yes.
And I can't read that other one,
Ramshead,
Ramshead.
Those exist.
Paddock Road.
Those
So
are-
Paddock, Ramshead, and Bayberry.
That's an approved subdivision. That, was this piece approved at the same time that was approved? Wasn't this all one parcel?
No, I believe those are separate.
So the Ram's Head and those streets weren't part of the development plan underneath that we were just looking at, correct?
Yeah, no, those were not part of that.
Okay.
Those existed at that
So-
time, too.
I would just, I want to see the original approval of this piece and what was,
I'll type up a summary of what the process was and what happened.
well, I'd just like to see just give me the copy, I want to see the original paperwork that was approved and the certificate of action that was placed on it.
Goes through here. There's a pocket that extends there. Around here. So it runs along the back of these lots, basically.
Okay.
So that's what drives sort of the shape of this road.
Do you think there's
Finger.
enough upland on them?
All those lots have the requisite upland portion required. Satisfies them.
Well-
Was it the same, was it titled Bayberry Road Extension?
It was part of Bassett
It's part of-
Estates.
it's part of Bassett
No, the one,
Estates,
why
yeah.
don't you flip back to the,
Yeah.
pick it up. That's the index sheet or cover sheet for the approval, John, right here.
So this was the final recorded plan.
And what's the date on that one?
It's actually Chris Gallagher, who's with? Yeah, it's actually 1998.
So that plan is.
June 98, so
That was-
that must have been, I guess, the final
Yeah.
re-subdivision. There were plans from 95, 96, I guess 98 was the latest. So,
So, now that one there is the one that's recorded at the registry?
yeah,
We have the recording information on that plan?
and I'm pretty sure I plotted this off of the registry website, actually.
Is it right on the plan?
Maybe not this one.
Oh, all sorts of books and pictures.
I can send you that information.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'd like to get that information so we can read on, because with what you're asking us, you have the right to go in there and build the roads, and you're already pre-approved. I'm not sure for us to change that plan, we're gonna have to give waivers on dead-end streets, aren't we?
Can we use the approved plan as is, as a yield plan?
That's what I'm wondering.
Not once you start. I mean, once you want to make changes to it, we're starting all over again. I mean,
Well, the process for the open space plan requires a conventional subdivision yield plan to determine the number of lots allowed, correct? So if this is an approved, I think there's 29 lots in here that's part of this.
Mhm.
can that yield be used in
No.
development of a open
Not
space
if,
plan? Is it
not
the
if
same
it's
process?
wetlands taking up half your lots today. If you can't build them today, then how can we use that? Just because they're on paper, it doesn't mean, if you want to build it, go build it. I mean, you're not going to take something that was done in, 20 years ago and use that as a plan. You're going to present a plan to us that shows that wetlands taking up 8 lots, and we're going to approve that as a yield plan? I don't know how you want us to do that.
As Scott mentioned, the length of road, Scott, flip back to the other plan. The length of road.
Hold that for a minute, she got to change the plan. And unless I'm unless I'm missing something, Brick, you can chime in on that, but how many lots on this new plan versus the old plan?
Same, 29 lots.
Okay,
Mine's
but,
is 30, yeah, I guess the other one is 30.
all right,
The other one against
so which one's 30, which one's 29?
The old plan's 30.
And the new
one's
plan's 29, okay. And you added 5 acres of land to this new plan?
Yes.
I don't,
And we want to sell it at 5 acres.
I'm confused.
You added the 5 acres because of the wetland creep, like you stated.
Oh, I
those
understand
lots were
why you would
buildable.
do it, but how can you expect us to, you're adding land to a pre-approved plan, you're coming up with a whole new schematic. So I guess if we basically start back at square one and say, we would like to put in a subdivision, and this is our design.
So we start from the beginning.
You're confusing me with
Well,
all
by
of,
by adding the 5 acres, we're able to take this intersection, which was once 1,400 feet from the nearest intersection through street, and make it about 450, about 1,000 feet closer to Ramsey.
I don't,
So-
but that, I don't really care. That's not what I'm saying. You're saying that you're working off an existing approval, correct?
We're comparing this to the existing
Yeah.
approval. What's there?
In reality,
As
we're
reference.
just starting all over.
All right, well, that's what we asked.
Yeah, You're adding a new piece beginning.
And you said your roads are, you're paying taxes, everything's all
they asked
on
us
paper
to-
streets, and so you are, what's in front of us now is a whole new
It's a
plan.
complete new other than the beginning of the roadway, it's a complete new.
Okay, so all of the approvals prior to don't mean anything.
Other than the fact
Not
that
unless
they
we go,
still
not unless we go get conservation approval and build the road.
But they don't mean anything in front of us for this plan.
No, this plan, the majority of this layout, this configuration has changed. It's different from the plan that's previously approved. You're correct.
Okay, so,
Okay, so what we're saying, what we're saying is we're looking for feedback from the board on whether or not this conventional plan could be used as the basis for preparing an OSD plan, which would provide open space, probably this whole part of the project would not be developed. Development would be concentrated here. So you're talking about, we consider this to be a no waiver plan. I guess you're talking about the dead end road, and I guess what we're saying is that the previous plan that was approved had 1,400 feet. This is 400 feet from the through intersection. And the way I read it, I think we comply with the dead end road requirement.
Well, I presume the old plan complied.
It may have.
Although I'm scratching my head figuring out.
I think it's 13
What the heck were we doing?
It's less than 1,350.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was back in the day.
I don't know what the requirement was back then.
It's
But-
been around for a long
But
time.
we have, from the nearest through street, we have 450, then we have a loop.
Yep.
So we're just looking for feedback. This is not what we want to build. This is just, a conceptual drawing that we want to use for the basis of preparing an open space project.
Well, of course, we run it by our engineer, who looks at each lot and looks at the rules and
Of course.
checks it off, oh, that one doesn't count, checks it off and comes back and says you've got 29, 25, 20, whatever. And based on that, you're telling us that the town would be better off with the open space plan because you would leave some open space. And if you convince us that that's the better plan, we'll approve it.
And does this have, this yield plan, does this have the wetland delineation on it?
And there's a lineation, it does.
It does? Where is that?
Here. Back this way.
So, that's the wetland delineation.
Everything west of that is.
And you're saying that, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, possibly 3 house lots on there that would be really hard to put a house lot.
They have the requisite upland, they dimensionally have the right frontage area.
Okay, so they have, is it combined, like that very first lot, see where your line goes up? Cuts the 125 block in half?
Yes.
You would, up on the, I'm assuming the only piece that you'd be able to put a house there is that very front corner.
That front right corner would probably be the most usable.
So how much
portion for a
space,
house.
how much space is that? From the property line to the edge of the wetland?
Have that dimension here. Here. I mean, that's 150 feet from this point to the wetland, at least.
No, I'm saying from the property line to your left, yeah, right
Yep.
there, from there to your wetland line, right there.
To here.
Yeah, that's where you're gonna be putting a house.
About
right?
120, 130 feet. This is 297 feet of frontage on this lot.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a sizable upland portion to build out. We believe that all these lots are reasonably buildable. They would require conservation permit, notice of intent filings for some of them, but they're not unbuildable.
Do you have, just for us to view, do you have a plan what you would be building?
No, not at this point.
But we understand the process, the first step of the process requires the submission of this plan and the preliminary plan showing what you want to build under the OSD.
And showing that you can actually build.
But we understand that the submission of the preliminary plan that shows the OSD has to meet all your requirements for preparation of a preliminary plan. They're quite extensive, so that's why we're here, to try to get some feedback from you. Maybe there's a way we can present this plan as the start of the process, not the formal hearing process, but present this plan to you and John and your engineer, along with, say, a conceptual of what we want to build, and then get some feedback prior to taking it to that full, before he starts spending thousands and thousands of dollars on engineering. So we can get some feedback on the conventional, is that a sound basis for density and moving forward to preparing, to going through the definitive process?
Well, you're telling us it is, and
We believe it is.
We will take your word for it, hand it over to our engineer, and if our engineer agrees with your engineering, then that does it.
Okay, so what you're saying is...
But, no waivers. You have to prove that you really could get 29. And if the engineer comes back and says you got 29 lots without any waivers, then we'll talk the open space. And again, you have to convince us that it's better for the town. It usually is, but not always. If we think it's better, and then at that point, we might talk about some waivers, and you might give us some 40B units, or you might give us some cash, or cut the number of units by a few, and we go for a little narrower road, or, then we can start talking.
I guess what I'm saying is that in order for him to go through the whole preliminary plan preparation, that's a hearing, and it's almost, your preliminary plan requirements are almost almost as extensive as your definitive. So is there a way to get feedback from your engineer and John, the board, without going through that extensive process by submitting this plan, having your, we pay for the engineer to do the review,
So,
He'd
you
pay-
want to meet on a picnic table in the back room and have this?
No, informal,
No, it
No?
doesn't work that way. Submit a plan, submit a prelim, like he said, we send it off to the engineer, we look at it, we review it, we get all of our comments back. Does it meet without waivers? Then we take it from there. So, I don't know.
Oh, that's your,
You're pretty well up on the
the bylaw.
the bylaw, so read the bylaw and submit a plan for acceptance that way.
The
We
yield
can't,
plan, we don't have a lot of room on. It's, you've got to do what it says, and you've got to prove that it's that number of lots, so we can go to the next step.
I heard you mention earlier about the dead-end road issue, and I think, have we resolved that in your mind?
They have not resolved it in my mind, but I don't have my tape measure with me. I mean, if it's more than the 1,350 feet, I don't know how it ever got approved the last time, but if it did,
How would you
Where did
measure
you
the
measure from?
1,350 feet? What's the interpretation of that?
So from this point to the beginning of the loop here?
well,
Is it the
it's from the last time that you have two ways out of there.
So from here to, I mean, this is the last point at which you can go to
I'm
Ramsden or
thinking
Bayberry.
that I'll go read.
It's
Things have been slow, but I'm thinking from
it's a-
that point where you have two existing roads now, that you can only put lots in 1,350 feet.
exactly. In one direction, if for some reason, one of those roads is unpassable,
This road.
yep, keep going into your new subdivision. So go one direction, 1,300 feet, go the other direction, 1,300 feet. If something makes one of those roads impassable, from that point all the way around, it has to be no longer than 1,300 feet.
So you have to be able to get out from that point
From-
to this point.
Correct.
All right, so you can
Not just
go
getting out of my driveway and my street, but out of the, to
out
safety.
to through road.
So what you're
Exactly.
saying is that if this road is unpassable, you're going to count 1,300 all the way back and through to this way?
From that point.
From this point back and all the way around?
Nope, from
What,
that,
from this point back to here?
where your finger is right now?
Yeah.
About 1,300 feet in both those roads.
All right, so, Scott, 750 and 13 is what? About 721, right in here. But you have another way to get out here, so I'm not,
Well, I think the purpose of the bylaw, and if we didn't write it well, we didn't write it well, and we will abide by what it says, but the purpose is to not have too many house lots and houses and people living beyond the point of two entrances/exits, ingress egress, out of the subdivision. We don't want to have, hundreds of people trapped in there because there's some horrific accident or something in that 450-foot section of single road.
So you measure from this point, 1,350 feet to the end of any road. And that's your dead end.
But if you're saying that the old plan doesn't show that, I gotta do some research on why that is. Because I don't think that 1,350 has changed in,
But the way I'm
30
looking at
years.
it though, that old plan means nothing.
if they have an approved road, they can.
They just
build.
added 5 acres to that plan.
Well, they
No,
can
we added 5
subtract-
acres to the
They
plan.
could subtract it back out, but if they've got
Oh.
an approved road, they can build a road.
Oh, exactly. But obviously, there's a problem for them not to build a road. That's why they're,
Well, they'd like to make some changes. But as soon as they make changes, then we.
the other question is, at what point, if you didn't add the 5 acres, at what point is it not a modification to the existing subdivision? Because we could pursue, if we didn't have the 5 acres, do you agree that we could come in and modify the other plan as a decision? Which allows the 14, which allows the 1,350?
Modify is a big word. You certainly have the right to build the road as is. As soon as you want to start modifying, then I guess we don't have to agree to anything.
You don't have to, no.
Would we? I'll do whatever seems best for the town.
But the conundrum is that we want to modify the plan as a conventional to show you so that we can build an OSD. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're taking the plan that exists, modifying that as a conventional to show you that we can still get 29 lots, same count that's already approved, and use it for the basis of moving forward.
If that's what you want to do, then I suggest that you go back to the original plan that you have the approval for, okay? Go back to that plan, bring us that plan, and that's the plan that we're going to work on. Because you keep bringing up the original plan, so if you want to go by the original plan, put that original plan in front of us,
Okay.
and that's the plan that you want us to look at to, now, it doesn't have 5 acres, but you want to add 5 acres to that plan. Okay, well, don't add it. You can show us what you want to do with it. And then we can look at that plan and say, okay, how many lots can you where's your wetland line? How many lots can you get out of it? And now that plan would be the yield plan,
You're saying without the 5 acres?
without the 5 acres.
Oh,
So we can see what was approved. Because you keep saying that's the approved plan. So if we're going to work off of that plan, the modification comes in when you want to add the 5 acres to it. Let's see what is that 5 acres going to do to your new plan, and how much of a modification is it going to require to the existing approval, and then it's going to be up to the board to decide.
You showed me overlay yet? We have overlaid the new one, this one, with the old one, so you can
Okay.
see it on one plan. Why don't you show that?
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
The old plan's approved,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Can that be used as a yield plan for the OSD? Is that what it is, an OSD? Whatever. The open space plan. Can we use that yield that already exists to design the open space plan?
I don't see why not.
I would say yes, except your wetland line has changed.
But,
And I think I'm willing to go with the original plan, at least in my mind, at the moment. The original plan with those lots on it, and it's 30, 31, whatever.
30.
But if the wetland line has changed and knocked out 5 of them, then I guess I would say you've got 25.
okay, so just so I'm clear, if we go with the old plan, and the new wetland line shows that 5 of those lots under the old plan are not buildable, we can then move forward on an open space plan with the remaining of those lots?
That's what I think, without, and I haven't.
Because the reason I ask that is because the dead end road stays the same.
If we approve something that's longer than what we should have approved, I'm scratching my head over how that happened and why that happened, but if it did, it did.
So we were of the impression that if we came in with a design that was basically more sensitive to the wetland area and maintained the same amount of lots under a yield plan, that would make things a little bit simpler. But apparently what's happening here is we need to stay with the approved plan and then come in with an open space plan from the approved plan based on what we could get without getting involved in wetland issues.
I think you have I think you have an option. Just like, forget the open space. You want to do a subdivision. You've got one that's approved. You have the right to build it. If you want to come back and say, I don't like that plan, I've got this new plan for whatever reason, wetland lines, or you like bigger lots, smaller, whatever, you have the right to junk the old plan and come in with a new plan. And I think that you're at the point where you can do either one of those now, and then move on to the open space.
Okay. I think I got it.
I think the only question here is the only question about moving forward with this versus using the old one is your interpretation of the dead-end road. Now, again, what we're saying in this case is that that loop, the internal roadway loop, starts 1,000 feet closer to Ram's Head than the other plan that you approved.
But it doesn't matter, that plan is not approved.
The other one is.
The first plan that's approved, if it's approved, it's approved. Whether it's 6,000,
So I guess.
it doesn't matter.
So
It's approved.
your interpretation of the dead-end road is, it's starting at the existing intersection? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
It starts at
And
the,
going
it starts at the point where it becomes one road with only one way out.
Okay, so going 1,350 feet in any direction, correct? Up
Correct.
here?
So from here to this point on this road, from here to this point on this road, give or take?
That's what I would think.
That's your interpretation?
Yeah.
Okay.
You also might want to check with the zoning enforcement officer as to his interpretation.
Okay, now I'm getting back to confused again.
No, I understand exactly what.
Well, I mean, if we take the existing plan that's already approved,
The dead
and
end.
the dead end one that has 1,400 feet of dead end road, or whatever the situation is, and we come in with an open space plan based on that, and we still have that dead end road, are we faced with the new dead end issue?
No.
We're not, okay.
Didn't I say that 15 minutes ago?
I'm not sure.
We have a
I think I
choice.
did.
What the board is saying, I think, is we have a choice. Either use the old plan, taking into consideration the wetland line, the new wetland line, and what lots might be impacted.
Yep.
Or take this plan
Submitted as a new plan.
and, yeah, as a brand-new plan, and their interpretation of the no waiver plan for dead-end, like the dead-end road, is going 1,350 feet in any direction.
You want that plan, that's fine, like Mr. Fountain said, but file a prelim, just like, so we can look at it as a brand-new plan. We can't look at that plan and say, yeah, this looks great, let's work on a open space plan.
Okay. All right. We're good. Thank you.
Okay, very good, thank you.
See you January.
Okay, next, discussion, Ryan Amusement renovation. Please step right up to the podium here, state your name for the record, your address. Yes, sir.
Mike Crowley, General Manager of Ryan Family Amusements. Address is 8 Ann Lane in Bourne, Mass.
Okay, and, I don't know, but they all come to Raynham for business. That's right. So,
Mike Santos, Afcon, I'm the contractor.
okay,
Katuitt, Massachusetts, also on the Cape.
so, we don't have, we have an easel back, but we don't have anything to put your plan on, so why don't you?
I have multiple plans, so I can just give you
Okay.
each one. Hopefully this will be the easiest one of the night.
We can share.
Did you get that signed, Maureen, that extension? Yes. Okay, so, this is Ryan Amusement on Route 44. See how boring our meetings are? The Cub Scout even left, or the Boy Scout even left. What happened? I was gonna give him some plans, I even was gonna put him in Chris's
He
seat. but-
apparently had to do 1 hour, because when it hit 7, he was gone.
Well, okay then. So,
Well, we started with repair work, and it expanded into a complete renovation of the front of the building. And we're gonna-
right.
We plan to take out the miniature golf course and do a lot of cleanup on the appearance of the property. And so when our contractor, Mike, went in to get a permit to do this work, they suggested that we run it through here, through you folks, to make sure that there was nothing more extensive that we needed to do.
so, let's see, the front of the building, the miniature golf, that is right here. You have handicap parking, landscape areas,
You have a fire lane that you never had before.
Correct.
That's all miniature golf
That's
right now.
miniature golf
Yeah.
currently.
Do you have a new, let's see, new concrete walk? Is this door location? Well, yeah, because do you have doors? You
The
don't have
door
doors in the
locations
front,
have
do you?
changed. I've got the architectural plan if you want to see that as well.
Not yet.
Okay.
Only, I just don't want to get messed up here. So you are changing the door location,
Correct.
and the side entrance, are those staying the same?
They'll become, one will be closed and one will become an emergency exit.
Okay. Well, looking,
Which ones were we talking about then?
these side entrances, looking at getting rid of the miniature golf, that's a great thing. Putting all 6 handicap parkings, having a fire lane, I think all of that is very good. You're making changes to the front of the building also?
The entire facade will change.
So the entire facade, I do think that we ought to have, come in as an abbreviated site plan. I mean, we're changing an awful lot to the facility.
Not increasing the business in any way, not increasing the building in any way. Really, it's just landscaping.
Yeah?
I don't, it's up to you. I'm happy as is.
Inside of the building,
No, nothing.
nothing's going on, no construction inside the building, just all outside?
All outside.
Russ?
I don't know, what are they gonna show us on a?
Can we see your plans, your drawings? John, any comments? Have you seen,
Yeah, I've met with this gentleman a couple times. He came in a few months ago originally with this plan, and then didn't hear anything.
Existing and proposed, I get one.
There are two things, there are two things that stand out to me, is the relocation of the entrance and the addition of a fire lane in the front. So if the board decided to go with an abbreviated site plan review, those are certainly two things that, might want comments from, either the building department and the fire department on
The
that.
fire department has to sign off anyway.
well, when we put, yeah, he'll have, even in his permit process, he'll have to go to
Well, we've obtained fire department approval already.
So, in the reason why we have any door entrance locations, I should say, entrance locations, why we changed that back when we did was to protect for pedestrians, because we were finding people were changing their entrances without putting bollards, without having, any protection at all. So that's why we have it in there. So I guess you have changing the front entryway, and you're putting handicap parking. That fire lane, is that, you're calling it a fire lane, but is that going to be,
Of course, it's more than a fire lane, because you've got parking spaces on it.
well, right, and that's going to be, actually, you could use that as a throughway. I don't see any arrows, one way, is it one way, two ways?
Two ways. We feel it's a problem if we make it one way, someone could block in, especially if someone were to come from the other direction. So it's wide enough for two ways, we believe.
So, if you're looking at this plan,
So it's not just a fire lane, it's parking and also
All right.
two-way access going to the
well,
side of the
but the only thing, looking at this though, your entrance is in the front, but you have this walkway.
Right, there's a walkway that comes in from each side of the parking lot.
Okay, so
and
your
the
doors are not directly in the front, your
Correct.
doors,
Doors on the sides.
The doors are on the sidewalk.
the main door in the building, so the way they're gonna access it is through the side here. Do you have, you're definitely gonna need, I think, some type of striping for, although pedestrian here, pedestrian here. My concern is it's a large area. Do we have a measurement? What's the width of the 140 feet? About 140 feet, that, starting from one side to the other side, that's a long, somebody starts flying down, you have a kid coming around this corner of this way, and he's not looking, and boom. Why somebody would be coming out, because they don't have any parking, except handicap parking. I hate speed bumps. I don't know if cobblestones, something to slow things down. Striping.
You could have even, not even a speed bump, because those tend to be very abrupt. You could have like a table or a hump. that's
Yeah, I know, they
over.
stink though, in the wintertime.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
Problem with those
It is
is
a plowing
ice
and-
builds up on both sides of them because they don't plow it right, and it's just, it's a
But
mess.
you could have some kind of crosswalk of contrasting material and color to kind of give people.
Right, well, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If we have walkways that are, you're gonna need one on both sides. You have 30 feet. So 30 feet, you're gonna be able to have traffic, 2 lanes.
Correct.
Wow.
I can understand why you want to abbreviate a site plan. And make sure they do these things, all your ideas are good.
Well, I'm just, again, I mean, it's a family amusement park. If I'm gonna come out here, but I didn't drop my kid off, I dropped my kid off here, but I can't park here because there's no parking.
You're putting this, your main entrance is gonna be in front of the building.
Correct.
Why do you want your front entrance? I mean, it might, like, front door of people's houses looks nice and everything, but all your parking's somewhere else. So why are you gonna make everybody walk around the building to get to the door?
Traffic flow inside the building,
Okay?
the way our games and our bowling is set up, the front entrance works much better for interior traffic flow.
Okay.
And again, I think it's gonna be far nicer than what's there now, and I don't wanna delay things, but I also, I really cannot, I would feel very uncomfortable having somebody walk out of that front and come out here. Even just to walk around this corner to look, 140 feet, you know how fast you can go in 140 feet?
Would you like a railing?
I don't know what I would like. I would like some suggestions.
I wouldn't have an issue with a railing, except for, a way to cross, but a railing, and to enclose the entire sidewalk to protect children, I wouldn't have any issue with that.
Well, that would direct people to both sides.
Right. No, I understand what you're
I
saying,
think
about
that-
someone walking out into that area.
I think that would be a big help. You would have to have, at the very end of, or I guess, yeah, at the end of the building, you would have to have a crosswalk for the handicap or for anybody
Yes.
parking in the front. So you would have a railing that would come across the front here.
I liked your idea of the cobblestone, but not for the handicap.
No, I know. I do think,
Cobblestones, there's no door in the center, so cobblestones across the center would
yeah, by the time we get to slow them down at the center, it's already too late. That's where the people are coming out.
Right.
Well, if we do a guard, some type of a rail, I don't want a guardrail.
No.
And that's,
That wouldn't work.
we're going from a
No.
miniature golf that's
No,
ugly to a guardrail that's gonna be ugly, it's
it's
gotta be
extreme,
something,
we think a big part of this for us is, it's an eyesore, quite
Right.
frankly, and we'd like to clean it up.
Dan, the other aspect, when I believe I first spoke to you, I think a couple weeks ago, about this gentleman coming in and wanting to come before the board, was the landscaping. There's nothing here showing what they're doing for landscaping along the roadway.
No, it's there.
Oh,
well,
is it-
yeah,
did he add
yeah,
something?
no, he's got
All right, I
landscaping,
haven't
he's
seen
got
these
small
myself.
shrubs, large
Okay.
river stone.
Okay.
Stone boulder,
Okay.
base of existing sign with shrubbery around it.
I think a railing across the entire front is a safety issue, makes a lot of sense to me.
Now, are you doing any changes on the side? On the Pep Boy side? I see existing tree. What's this? You're showing parking. Are you gonna restripe these? Because I don't think there's any, you can't tell where the parking is. Are those stripes?
They're striped.
Are they striped?
There probably should be restriped.
You have a space. Is anything gonna happen in this space from the parking to the building?
In here?
Yes, this,
No.
what's there now? Grass?
Grass.
And the building is base metal building type? Is it all metal?
Similar, yeah.
Tell me about I understand you're putting in a new big door in the front, and there's a side door on either side now, and what's gonna become of them?
On the Pep Boy side, that will become storage,
Okay.
and on the pub side, that will become an emergency exit.
So everybody is gonna have to come through that front door?
Correct.
Well, that's,
Yeah, you need a walkway on the
You
side.
gotta put a walk, because these people now, you pull into here.
Well, I don't know if you're aware that there's an overhang there, and underneath the overhang, we're gonna be installing a walkway. It is shown on the architectural plan, so.
On the side of the building?
No, down the front of the building. That's
Well,
all.
we're not talking about the front. We're talking about the side. If you're walking, you're coming, people are parking here,
Right,
and they're walking to the front.
right,
So if you have a guardrail here, we're gonna need some type of a
right.
designated crosswalk, and we're gonna need a crosswalk, but you're getting people parking over here. The only way to get to here is through the parking lot.
Right.
So, we're gonna have to put a walk, some type of a walk. You have, looks like you have plenty of room there. And then if you put a walk there, you need bollards. Well, Russ, do you see, did you take your kids over there?
We do go there sometimes.
So, park on the side. Right now, you probably park over here.
Yep. We park over there and
you walk in that
walk
side,
in
and you walk
not
on
a
that
problem.
side door.
Yeah. So now we'll have to walk down the sidewalk and go in the front.
Again, the only time that we have a chance to, obviously, this is an existing building, and we're not gonna bring it up to today's standards, but we do have to look at bringing it up to safety standards, and that's why, that's why we're here. I wouldn't want to see them not go through with putting the entrance in the front, just to get away from not triggering coming to the planning board. So I don't want to make it where they can't, that they decide not to do that. Rip out the miniature golf and put in grass and leave it the way it is. Well, that's not what we're here for. But also, I've been through here, and let me tell you, kids come out of that door and they just run across, and if you're not paying attention, and if they're gonna come all the way to the front, I would like to see some type of a walk in front of this, and if they don't do bollards, then put bumpers, car bumpers, and then restripe. They don't have to go around to that, but I would want this restriped. you own this, you own the whole building, correct?
Correct.
So, is there any handicap over here? You know, when they
Well, I
restripe, they
wonder,
can put
is
handicap.
that all pub parking over that somewhere?
Well, again, now, you know, if you want to open up a can of worms, you can say, okay, well, what's the square footage of the building versus parking for here? What's the square footage of the pub versus parking there? All I'm saying is restripe it, put in handicap, so, you know, you have handicap here, handicap, you know, 4 spaces. And, you know, I'm not looking for calculations because I've been there. There's enough
Well, I mean,
room.
they're already gonna have 6 up on the front side.
Okay, so you have a restaurant there, right?
Right, no, but you were showing handicap there, handicap here.
Yep.
I'm like, well, if they're parking down here, they're coming in the front, and they got 6 handicap.
Okay,
Here. So I can see down there.
How many seats in that restaurant? Better be
I don't know.
300. Put 100 upstairs. Put another couple hundred downstairs. How many parking spots is required for a restaurant with?
I think ADA is usually approximately, I think 15%, something.
So I'm not looking to have them go and redo the whole thing, but to restripe it and put,
Yeah, no.
and have some handicap spots so they're legit.
Yeah, no, I got you. I just didn't see the point of having them here,
And that's fine.
right? Because people are either going in there, or if they're going in the front of the place, they already have handicap right.
Are you gonna be able to access, there was some talk that this was gonna be, some access to the building, to the Jockey Club restaurant?
We've talked to John, we haven't come to any conclusions at all.
Because bowling alleys and dining seems to be the big thing. So,
They just
again,
opened up a big place at Lincoln Mall, Rhode Island.
again,
It's like-
what's gonna happen, okay, I wanna go and have something to eat, and I'm gonna go bowling. I'm coming in this door, and I'm coming out this door, or I wanna park over here. You know, you're not just looking at them changing the front entrance. You have a substantial existing restaurant here. That parking lot has potholes, and it's quite a mess. So if you can,
Did you have any plans for the rest of the parking lot?
No. If I could restripe them, we can, you know, handicap spots near the restaurant, is that what you're asking?
yeah, you own the whole building, you know, again,
We have no issue.
you know, we can't just look at
No, I understand that.
what's,
Are there any there already?
I think there are, but I can't
I
picture it
think
right
there
now.
are, too.
I think there are.
Yeah.
And we've actually increased there's 4 here that were increased to 6 on the front.
I think there are handicap spots on that side, but I can't visualize it at the moment.
yeah, I go there quite often, I don't recall seeing handicap signs.
But I presume the building inspector will be checking that out.
All right, well, you were comfortable with not having it be a, how do you want to proceed?
I guess we need an abbreviated site plan if we're going to make them do the things you've talked about.
If we have, again, if it's an abbreviated site plan, it doesn't have to go to engineering.
No, not unless the board eventually determines it rises to that level, but it doesn't.
I
Well,
don't see that
no.
this needs
Yeah.
engineering.
Again, I don't even, all I want, I think we can vote on it with conditions and all the conditions that I just said. And they would have to provide us a new plan showing
That's the other.
changes. And then, because if he's willing to do the guy with some type of rail, I would want to see that rail going in the front.
We'll also address the handicap spaces to make sure that if they're not there, they will be there on the pub side.
Yeah, and can you, do you have a marker I made a mess of this plan. Do I have something besides a pen, a red pen? Did you ever clean one of these? Can I have your clean one? I'm gonna show you what I would suggest. Well, everything that I drew on there, but I'll do it a little neater. If he does some type of a nice looking guardrail across the front, he doesn't, like I said, he doesn't have to go all the way there. I would just say, restripe this, show handicap, I don't know, just show them. You have to put in a couple of the signs. This side over here,
I think the handicap is up against the building now. If I remember correctly.
well, that doesn't, if it is, it doesn't work. This needs to have some type of a designated striped walkway. And I think we need to have a crosswalk. Again, when you see a line in the pavement, when you drive into a building, you're gonna slow down.
Should there be a note that the crosswalks will be of a contrasting material and color?
Color. Where I have these, well, let me finish this one. I think these should have concrete bumpers and then a walkway to get to the front somehow.
Just as long as it's clear enough when they finish and I need to go out and take a look at it, that it's easy to see, okay, this is what they were supposed to do, yes and no.
I want a new plan.
That's what I'm saying, Dan, on their new plan that they submit.
Yeah, well, that's,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this back to him. He can ask questions of what I drew, because I stink at drawing, so. But I think we can sum this up right now. The front of the walkway, there's gonna be some type of a rail.
Why don't you come over here and look at it, make sure you.
A rail that's, that the board is agreeable to, that's gonna be all across the front.
I would envision something like an aluminum speed rail.
Yeah.
Would that be acceptable? Would it have a top and then a lower bar?
It keeps kids from running out in the street.
That would.
It's similar to like.
You would have to crawl through it. I mean, it's not impossible to crawl through something like that, but I think that would be attractive.
I know what you're talking about, if instead of just a top rail and one down the bottom, I'd like to maybe have another one in the middle.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Because, again,
Yeah, no, it's-
your age limit, I bowled there. I was in leagues, I bought my shoes and the balls, and I did all that stuff. Well, it's a great thing to have in a town, but you have youngsters here every Saturday.
We hope so.
So, can they crawl through it? Most definitely. This here, this one, and this one, I don't want to say that it has to be one type of material, but I would like these two here, to be some type of a contrast between besides the blacktop. So if I'm driving in here, it's going to be for handicap, so we can't do cobblestones.
Matt, instead of that.
But we can paint it blue. Correct?
You're getting rid of the miniature golf. Let's not colorful the front of the building back up.
Dan, how about something that looks like a stamped brick?
Again,
Okay.
you're the owner, you're the contractor. Come up with something and let us know
Okay.
what you want to do. You know what our concern is, you have 140 feet. As soon as they come into this point, I want to feel something in the car. Something different, besides being striped for the walk.
Along his idea, like the rumble strips they have on highways.
Is cobblestone the easiest thing to do?
Well,
I don't think that.
the cobblestones are not gonna pass for handicap.
Okay.
But what you can do is you could do cobblestone on front and back,
Other side.
you know, like 2 or 3 rows of cobblestone to outline the handicap.
And also, you can do a stamp that looks like cobblestone without having it be cobblestone.
Right.
Because it's not, it's expensive, but it has the look of cobblestone.
Yeah, as long as it's gonna meet the handicap.
Same thing with the bricks, they could stamp it and color it to look.
Yeah,
like
those
brick.
cobblestones, then they get kicked up by the plow truck, so
Right.
we'll come up with
All
something.
right, so come up with something for these 2 areas. It doesn't have to be these 2, but this does have to be striped and highlighted for a walkway, so people can come in. This side, you're getting rid of this door, I would suggest we need a walk coming here.
All right, to keep them out of the parking lot.
Keep them out of the parking lot. Because
You're
again,
You're getting rid of the door completely?
Yes.
Just one.
Well,
This is gonna
so
be-
is this gonna be here anymore? Or
That's
or-
gonna be a storage space, so you cannot
Okay, so
enter
people
or
are
exit.
still gonna have to walk around?
Correct.
Right, this section of wing wall's coming off of here though, so it won't be as far around.
all right, so we need,
Aesthetically, I think it's, it's a huge
we
difference.
need some type of a walk and put either bollards, if you want to put one, or car bumpers across here, so they're not gonna drive into the walkway. And then from this point to this point, restripe, so it's really
Not a
visible,
problem at all.
that they, people know where they're going, and there's not gonna be questions. Do you agree?
Yes.
So you don't have to come back as an abbreviated site plan, because I know you want to get going. Make these changes to this plan, resubmit them to Maureen and John at the planning office. We will,
We'll take a vote, but as long as you do things according to the plan we reviewed, we didn't have to have a formal hearing.
Very good, I appreciate it.
all right, and that motion was made.
Seconded.
Any other discussion? No, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. So take this plan with you.
We don't need this.
What is today? 4th. Okay,
Great, thanks very much.
so make those changes, give us a plan, we can see. And then, as soon as we get that, we'll give the building inspector, be okay to sign your permit. All right?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Do you need, here, why don't you take, the plans are expensive, why don't you take this, no sense in having these, we're only gonna use them for kindling. Thank you. I like this pen Maureen gave me. All right, Norwood Bank release agreements for Carriage Hill. And who's here for Norwood Bank? Anybody? Letter?
Chairman, member of the board, my name is Ed Bryan, attorney at One Church Green in Taunton. I understand that the signatures, Maureen said that was not going to be taken up tonight. We're going to have to go over to a different date. Because, I think Russ was going to recuse himself, and that would leave 2 members
Well,
to vote.
I haven't, I was,
Let's see what, I mean, if it's just
well, what I sent back, the email was, it's clerical. You're not making any decisions. All we are.
Yeah.
We have sign off from town engineers, sign off from highway department,
Roadways have been accepted, all roadways have
Right.
been accepted.
so you're not, so.
They're all deeded over to the town.
Yeah.
Everything's
You're not
So,
doing,
yeah.
there's absolutely nothing that you're gonna,
Right.
gonna have a
If there's
conflict.
nothing going on like that,
It's a completed subdivision.
then I don't have a problem.
Right, to me, it's a clerical thing, releasing this. That's, and again, that's why I said it's up to you, but that would be my opinion. It's, it's clerical, and I don't think, you're not making a decision. I know you have a conflict, but.
Yeah, no, if it's just like that, but if you start
It's just an
saying
administrative step,
different
really.
stuff has to be done or
Nothing at
doesn't
all.
have to be done,
No.
and decisions need to be made,
Now,
then
what we have right now is we have a tripartite agreement for $945,000. We have a cash security for $63,700. $657. We have a snowplow account for $3,060.94, and we have a project review fee of $222.63. And I make a motion that we release those to Norwood Bank.
Second for discussion.
Discussion.
Do we have to worry about trees?
They've
made it a few years.
Actually,
They were-
in going through there over the last 6 months, noticed that a couple existing trees had not fared too well, and when I talked to Mr. Dacey, they've been working with the homeowners and the tree warden to actually replace them when they don't really have to because they're on private property, but they have been, a couple trees have been replaced.
Yeah, this has already been accepted.
Right.
It's been around for a while.
Okay.
And we want to get these off our books before the end of the year.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All in favor for releasing 1, 2, 3, those 4 accounts? Aye?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
All right. Better take this, I'm gonna mark myself all up. That's dangerous. Endorse Carlton Street subdivision plan. Oh. What's this,
The Walmart for me.
Oh, gosh. Chris doesn't show up, so we all have to sign.
Not a Form A anyway.
Carlton, oh yeah. This is all set to sign?
Were there any issues?
The certificate of action had a number of conditions, all of which have been complied with well, actually, the order of conditions, one of them was to have it printed on the face of the plan. I believe your certificate of action has been taken care of.
All set, sir?
Oh, I don't sound Board of Health. Don't want to smudge them.
One pen takes the sign, all 5 pages.
Yeah, do something, Mr. Brennan. Take these away from me.
You signed some copies as well. I brought 4 copies, did I sign those?
All right.
Just doing the front page.
Is that, do you want?
No, that's fine, I just wanted to make sure they did the same thing. Yeah, just the front page.
Want to take those? That was wrapped up in your pile.
On the original, did we have this, the clerks?
You want to pass these down there, please? All set?
All set.
Okay, very good. Is that all, Mr. Brennan?
That's all I have, thank you.
All right, Form A. Broadway, Walmart, please step up, state your name for the record. We have plans. We have the same thing?
Yeah, I think they want this one note that they wanted just to add to make sure it matched the deed. Right up in there.
So, these are, so we don't sign the wrong ones?
Yeah,
I'll
same,
swap you.
same thing, just that note.
He swapped. Proposed lot B area equals 1,143,000. Somebody asked for that note?
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure it matched the deed language that we had, that's all. Matched the numbers that were otherwise posed on, and we just wanted to make that.
So he gave me everything that he said he had done.
I thought I was missing a carriage hill thing. I just didn't know if you were swapping. No?
Before you speak.
Yeah, the other plan that I gave Mr. Brennan, it said Calvin Street. It was one.
I'm in College Street, it's in Carriage Hill.
Oh.
Street. I'll make sure it's four.
Something else. Okay, state your name for the record.
For the record, John Cusick with Bowler Engineering.
Yes, and you are. This is a Form A. Explain what you're doing. What's the Form A for?
Yep. Simply put, sewer department asked us to deed over the land for the sewer pump house, and we're just carving out that land per the request.
Okay, so let's see. Where's the pump house? The pump house. Proposed Lot A, right here.
You got it. It's right over here, about 4,460. There's a blow up here, which is identical, just so you can actually read it. It's such a small area on the overall scale.
Okay.
We've reviewed that with the sewer department, and that area was agreed upon, they wanted us to show. The Form A is simply to carve that off so we can deed it over to the town.
Now, does the sewer department need, and please, you state your name for the record and your
For the record,
business.
William Rosen, 90 New State Highway, Raynham, Mass., attorney representing Walmart.
For the sewer department to access this, I know we have access now, we have an easement coming across.
We created an easement across the Murby land, which is of record. They also have access through the parking lot of
Okay,
Walmart.
that's what I was gonna,
So they
that
have it on
is-
both, they have it on both ends. The Murby easement is already of record.
The Murby easement is of record,
It's already was recorded in August of this year after we were able to have them sign it.
and do we have a copy of that?
I have one here in my file if you'd like it.
That easement runs from Murby to the town, not to Walmart.
To the town, correct?
Okay.
Yes, I have a copy of it if you'd like.
And is Walmart giving an easement, recordable easement to the town also?
For the rear entrance, if you will.
Right.
How was that, is it included in the deed?
It was included in the easement, it is included in the deed.
We can add that.
Yeah, we certainly can add that. We haven't, the deed for that, for this parcel we're talking about today hasn't been finalized, subject obviously to your
Okay, yes, so just
discussion.
add the easement too.
So we
Yeah.
could create that to
Yeah.
give them the easement there as well.
Okay, that'd be good.
Yes, John?
What they've done for that alternate access coming off the parking lot is, if you go into the parking lot, take a left and go down to the corner where the sewer pump station is, where the curb takes a turn, goes towards the building, they've added some asphalt, an asphalt ramp up onto the concrete curbing to allow a truck to go up on the curbing and go down to the pump.
If they have to get through
Yes.
that way.
Yes, that's what they've done.
Yeah, and they mentioned they could hop the curb, it was just easier to give them a little bit of a ramp. So-
Okay,
We'll see how that survives plowing and everything.
Burke, any, you have all your applications?
I just need a moment.
Maureen, those are the.
So who is the applicant? And who is the owner?
The Walmart is the applicant, and they are also the owner of the real estate. It just gives you the right corporate entity. Walmart Real Estate Business Trust is the owner of the real estate. And they're the one that, we've got a proposed deed here if you'd like to see it.
Well, I've got an applicant whose a scribbled name I can't make out, and I don't know what their authority or who they're working for. And then the owner, if different, needs to sign. And I've got a signature of somebody else, and then I don't have a capacity that they signed under.
Okay. John, I didn't do the application, I'll be honest with you.
Curious. You know, this did go to Walmart. I signed as the applicant. That's my scribble up top, because Fuller Engineer is the applicant. And then owner, that was Michael Thomas is his name over at Walmart, so they signed that.
Could you print the names, and I presume he's a trustee and you're an agent?
Right, there's the correct entity name if you want to clean that up.
Other than that, I don't have any questions.
Okay, so while they're taking care of that paperwork, make a motion that we approve Form A plan prepared for Walmart Real Estate Business Trust, 160 Broadway, map 7, lot 13, and a portion of lot 4. Plan is 3 revisions, revised 12/3/14, which is the 3rd revision.
I'll second that.
Second for discussion. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
We can sign off on these now, right?
Yes.
Is that when we sign the all stuff?
Yes.
While we're signing, I see your letter stating that everything is completed. You're asking for your 300,000 security to be released.
That's correct.
Want to pass these down there just so I don't smudge them? Yeah. Is everything complete? Because I received an email from Mr. Gallagher. I think the board received an email from Mr. Gallagher stating that, in his opinion, things weren't completed.
The
If you
thought
could-
process was there that
Oh, you need another one?
improvements and the structures and everything that has been completed relative to the Walmart are complete. The piece of land with the pump station on, again, we just received this letter as you did. There may be a few loose ends there, but that is not, once the subdivision is recorded, is not part of the Walmart project, so we're thinking that we can put Walmart to bed in terms of a certificate of occupancy, and then obviously Mr. Gallagher and his department will ensure that the improvements to their land at this point, once this deed is signed, gets done. And
What is it that Mr. Gallagher is saying that needs to be done, but still not done?
I have the letter here if you want to.
You have a letter?
Well, I have a I don't know what it is. It's called punch list with a date on it.
John, can you pass these down here so they can keep going?
It's not really a letter. It's not even signed, actually.
This is what we just received.
Email that you need to give us the recording.
Yes.
On that that's recorded.
We need three.
I didn't sign that one? How the heck did that get by me? Oh, this was in front of them, that's why.
So we just need to, the rest of it.
I need three.
1, 2, 3. Oh, here. Wait a minute. These two have to get signed. These are part of the ones we're keeping. Okay, so we get that. Provide blacktop walkway for access to. Okay, so it says, provide blacktop walkway for access to wet well and doorways to the building.
Correct.
Who am I talking to?
Either one of us for that one.
What's-
There are definitely some items here that need to be completed, most of which are in the internal, in the building itself, internal to the operation of the sewer pump. And that's
Okay,
why we
but-
felt that
Well,
it might be appropriate.
let's go
to-
through these,
Sure.
because if the board feels that these are, without the sewer pump, you don't have, you don't have an occupancy permit.
Obviously, yeah, we understand that.
So, we have to make sure that these things are
Sure.
minor and that they can be taken care of. So, provide blacktop walkways to the doorways. Any issues with that?
Potentially, because I'm not, would you tell comment one, sir?
I'm on 3.
On three.
These,
We're-
it said, this here says items in italic have been completed, so that's done.
No, I think it's the opposite. I think the italics aren't done.
Oh.
Bold. That's why I was getting confused.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was my first read as well.
Secure a permanent easement to be conveyed to the town for an asphalt driveway accessing the wet well side of the building from Route 138.
Which,
There is a recorded
we
easement
have the recorded easement.
from Murby's. The original discussion we had with Mr. Gallagher indicated that he was satisfied with not asphalt, but with the stone, which is already
Which is
present
what-
in there, which is there.
I think that's what the board, had
And
approved.
and that's there already, so in our opinion, that has been done, and it's already of record.
But he wants it asphalted?
Well, apparently that's the new,
what it appears
the new
on
request, if you will. Again, that was, before we put that easement to record, and before we had the plans, you may or may not recall, we brought it between you, we brought it to them, we brought
Okay,
it to town.
so-
We seemed to be in agreement with what we did, and now, for the first time, we've heard asphalt versus the
Well, I don't
bridgestone.
think, myself, I don't remember getting specific to asphalt. I know we talked about an easement.
Right. There's sewer lines that run underneath that easement, correct? So
That is correct.
it might make sense not to have asphalt there, because if you got other access from the backside, which is asphalted, and then you've got access over the stone, I mean, there's,
Secure a permanent parcel for the pump station to be conveyed to the town.
that's
That's what we're
with the
doing.
approval
So-
of this plan tonight, we can
So
do
that
that.
one's done. Locks to the building need to be keyed alike to the existing Raynham sewer. Wow, you would think that these things would be just
Well,
done. You know,
But again,
I don't even want to get into that
okay.
one. Force main piping and flow meter needs to be properly supported.
Yeah, well, we can talk to them, I don't know what that means just yet.
Repair heater, building ventilation, wiring, and generator room. Repair heater, building ventilation, wire, and generator room. Install hatch, net, and wet wall. Repair flow meter, chart, recorder. It is currently acting erratic. Reinstall cam lock fittings in the force main manhole outside the pump station. No, I think I'm, this is what I'm reading off of, so it's not like I'm stupid or something. I just have a hard time
It's
I can't
difficult
tell
to-
what's doc. I think what I just read, install hatch. Can you help me here?
Yeah,
Is this, these are done then, I'm sorry.
No, it's the
Oh, no.
opposite. The dark ones are not done. The
Well,
italicized.
and the public should know that everything is dark on there.
Right.
That's
It's
right.
a-
Install 16 by 16 cement pad at invert height of each drainage pipe. Now, that sounds major. What's that all
No,
about?
honestly, the plan
Well,
we
could
approved has
we have,
stone
you know,
pads.
our independent engineer sign off that all these things are done?
They are, our engineer should sign off on what needs to be completed. I was hoping that they would be minimal enough that it would be something that, we would have Walmart's word, Mr. Rose's word, to the board, that they will make sure and to work with the sewer department to make sure these things are taken care of.
Well, certainly you would have our, whatever the level of work that needs to be done, you have our word to do that. And then, as I said, the ultimate resource the town has here is that Mr. Gallagher is not going to accept that pumping station until he's satisfied that everything's been done. There may be things that come up, and you need to go to a town meeting to finish that whole process. So our thought is that the sewer department has this well in hand. They will certainly hold our feet to the fire, as Mr. Gallagher has all along here, and that these things will be done to his satisfaction, or the pumping station won't be turned over, which is something obviously Walmart wants to have happen, because that would put an end to this whole engagement. So that's kind of our sense of where, it might make some sense.
And the other reason why I was reading them to see, if we felt that it wasn't, that they were all minor, detailed things that.
Few things there, when you're talking about electrical system or something, I don't know if that's minor or major.
But the pump has been running.
Yeah, in all honesty, it sounds, talking to the contractor, just minor items that, replace the flow meter and add a net under a manhole. Again, the pump station's up and running and has been up and running. These are just, I think, punch list items. that won't
Again,
complete it.
it's just like sewer pumping station's flow meter. I don't know if that costs
Yeah, no,
$10 or 10 million.
Right, and then again, there's still, would be happy to hold back some money. The board was happy to.
Now, as-built plans for the newly installed sewer lines and pump station site plan, including ties to stub locations and pipe. Why wouldn't that already be done, as-built?
I don't think it was previously asked for, to be honest with you. But it
No,
wasn't.
isn't an as-built just routine?
Not depending on what it was. I mean, we have an as-built for the whole site. There was one thing that was asked for, that was done. Relative to that, I don't think it was any kind of a condition of approval or application requirements if the contractor didn't do it. If he's asking for it, they can get the information and do that. But again, I think this is really the first written request for it.
As-built plans for the newly installed sewer lines. You would think that the sewer department would have standard standard inspections. They have people that go out and do inspections. I don't know, what bothers me is we're all the way down to, asking for keys to be, at this point in time, come on. I mean, I don't want to keep going back and forth. And, I will, whatever you want to do. My only concern.
Get done.
To get done, but if it is the sewer department's requirement, I guess I would be the best word. If it's the sewer department's requirement, whether it's in their own head or not, to have a blacktop driveway, and you're saying that from what you remember, this board said stone is good enough.
And Mr. Gallagher, we had this discussion with Mr. Gallagher, we didn't
Right,
know
but-
stone, and
but my
our understanding
concern-
was stone was gonna be sufficient.
Okay, my concern is that if the sewer department is not happy with the sign-off with stone, and that continues, then how are we gonna resolve, are you gonna blacktop it or not?
Well, I think we're in a situation, if we want the pumping station to be accepted, we're pretty much obligated to do what Mr. Gallagher wants. In fairness to us, in certain areas, there seems to be a little bit of a moving target here.
That's just what I was thinking.
And we're happy for you to hold some money.
Okay.
In order to
Then-
ensure that this is done. We would just like to at
Let's,
least,
could-
I know you like to see us
can
every
we-
60 days, but if we
Yeah,
could at
we
least
really
get half
don't.
of it done, and then.
I got something, I have an idea, and I think, Russ, you've mentioned this, if we work on the, not releasing the funds, but releasing as a certificate of, a final occupancy permit.
Let's get the occupancy permit done. Let's find out from somebody what these things would
Okay.
cost and hold back that amount.
That's fair. So, then let's do this. We will make a motion that we give our acceptance, our approval for the final occupancy permit for the building of Walmart on Route 138. We will hold the funds of the $300,000 I believe we have. We will hold those funds until town engineer reviews this punch list and comes up with a dollar amount and provides that to the board. We will release, or I guess maybe at our next meeting, we'll take a vote on releasing whatever funds, if these items are not completed. If town engineer says it's gonna be $100,000, then we will release the $200,000 at our next meeting.
Do you have an easier-to-read copy of that?
That's what
We will, that's how it came to us, so
Or maybe I can
I'm not
contact
sure how
Chris
this,
tomorrow and ask him
looks
to
like a
give me the
1952
plans, so
fax
we-
machine, but yeah, we will certainly get you something that he can read.
Obviously, we're gonna need something
Right.
that we can send off to our town engineer.
Cool.
So, is there,
Second.
that motion was made and seconded for discussion. Is that, all right, Russ? So, everybody understand what we're doing? You have your occupancy permit,
Thank you.
okay?
And we understand,
We
we'll
will-
work with
we
it to
will-
get the estimate done.
Hopefully, you go and get these things done.
I would agree.
Get the locks, key, let's just, I don't wanna keep going because, maybe the key might break in the lock from now to the next meeting, and we might have to replace the locks. Yes, sir, state your name for the record.
I'm Bob Fitzpatrick, I'm also an attorney representing Walmart.
Yes.
And just one point on the Murphy easement.
as I understand Mr. Gallagher's request, he was asking that the width of the easement be expanded from 20 to approximately 40 feet, which would then extend to and encompass the existing driveway on the Murphy property.
We're happy with the 20 feet, we have access.
Okay, I just want to make that.
I think,
Yeah, from Walmart's perspective, we
you provided,
we did our best to get that.
you provided an access from 138, and that's all we asked for, 20 feet. If we can't get a truck in 20 feet, we have to rethink of, I don't think the sewer department has a truck wider than 20 feet, so I think we're all set with that. So, with these other things, we're gonna hold money if they're not done, and you will not get an approval at the town meeting for us to take it. And so get that, send it off to town engineer. Just give us, he should do he should go out and do a final inspection.
Yes, because as far as all the other items in this letter, other than the sewer issues, I can vouch for the fact that everything else has
We're
been
done.
done. Yeah,
Okay,
we're
so
done.
motion, that was made and seconded for discussion. Nothing else? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right? Thank you. All right, very good, thank you. Walmart, town planner update, none. Invoices, none. Minutes, none. Okay, so as we're thinking of our next meeting in December, December 18th, that as of this point, we don't,
We have one item, a discussion,
we have one item that's a discussion.
a property off Carlton Street.
Property off Carlton Street, and I believe they're looking to find out if they can build on their,
Across the street?
yes.
What we just approved.
Yeah, and she was here. at
Actually,
the-
off the end of the proposed cul-de-sac, 2 lots.
Didn't take long at all, huh?
Well, they
Including-
were here that night, because she came up and said, so that's gonna be up for discussion on the 18th. Now, I felt that we could not put anything else on and let them know that they'll have to come back and,
Yeah, I forgot about January 1st being our first meeting.
so the 15th, they'll have to come back on January 15th.
Well, that's a long time. We might need a special meeting if we have a Form A come in or something.
So then we keep the 18th on and we go out for our Christmas party after, our holiday party. So, meeting on the 18th is still on.
Okay.
It is, it will stay as light as you put, make it light.
All right, I'll make it light.
Okay.
After the heaviness of tonight.
Well, let me tell you, and for those that watch us on a regular basis, and I'm surprised, there's quite a few people, so, hello to all those people that watch us on a regular basis.
Are they still with
We're wusses. Look at it, it's only 8:30, we're all exhausted. We used to be here until, 10, 11. I'd go home and I was useless the whole next day. So this is crazy.
Can I just mention a couple things before we?
Make it quick.
Dan and I were speaking about the Route 138 overlay district that has the support to go forward. You gentlemen were both at the public workshop, so we figured that January 15th would be the first meeting where we start discussing an overlay district bylaw for that. So I know when I delivered, whoever didn't have the land use study, Russ, I dropped one at your house in your mail. I also dropped one with Chris and also Henry, because I know you two gentlemen said you already had them. So anyway, just to give you a heads up that that we will start discussing that.
And in the room that night, we had two selectmen, Mr. Shavo and Marie Smith, and, I believe they're both in favor of, from what they heard and from what they heard from the people, to move forward with what we talked about.
I've heard very positive feedback, and the people I've talked to who were in the audience. So I thought it was a successful night, and was pleased with the turnout and the response.
And as many times as we can repeat ourselves on how the line is gonna run, the 200 feet off of Route 138, or we're gonna follow property lines. You know, we've said it before, we're gonna follow property lines. That's the best way of doing it. It's just a lot of work. That's why it's usually they go back and just run a line. And just that one, you know, that one item I think is important, and yet a lot of people were concerned about that. That it was gonna be going back 200 feet. Well, what happens if it cuts somebody's property? What happens if it takes another, if there's a piece of residential or whatever?
I think following the property lines will actually protect more properties than are currently protected.
It should make some allowance for, you know, going back further, if you have two properties that are deep and one in the middle that's not, and somebody wants to buy three of them, well, now you got, you know, to do something, you got a funky shaped.
And again,
lot.
to, yes, I do. For an overlay district, that's something that can be looked at to try to get everything approved and everything worked out
No, but
right off the bat.
Make some allowance for, this is the line we're starting with, but
If you have two pieces of property and somebody in the middle.
somebody in the middle, or,
Well, on the 15th, come up with a good solution
yeah,
to that.
I know.
Because that's.
So you have from now until then to think about it.
You know, some people, I know this isn't just this town, but people in these types of neighborhoods off of 138, for instance, that's one thing they're concerned about is creep, is the use starts creeping, so that's one thing to keep in mind.
Right,
definitely.
and, oh, I know if we try to do something like that, then I really don't know how we would.
Well, do we want to think about our buffer bylaw when you're abutting a residential use? You know, 25 feet, 50 feet, should it be 100 feet?
Well, then you're really restricting, then you're really taking.
Can't have it both ways.
Well, but with the study committee, that was one thing that they didn't really have a big problem with, because we were, originally, the overlay district had less of a buffer, and we said, no, let's stick with what we have for business, and they were pretty comfortable with that.
Right.
And that was, with that committee.
But what Russ mentioned is exactly the concern that came up from a couple of the steering committee members as well.
Well, it is, and that's why I say, how would you?
I got another one too.
How would you word?
Right, thinking about it. Well, like, I get property line, which makes sense in ways, and I could be way off here, but say you got a property that's 200 feet deep, and next to it, there's a property that's only 75 feet deep, and he says, can I buy this piece of land behind me and go an extra 100 feet?
If it's residential, no.
But the guy right next door to me,
But it
whose
doesn't-
property
but it-
line is
but it-
200 feet, can.
But that doesn't change the zoning line, same thing with purchasing.
No, but I'm like,
property.
this should be like, I can't go 200 feet back, but
Well,
this guy.
that I see what you're saying. If you say, I don't know how.
I'm just saying, like, there
I
should
know.
be some kind of a, come in for a special permit or something that would.
Or rezoning.
Come up with something, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, think about it.
Yeah.
If we're less than 200 feet,
Right.
well, we should follow property lines no matter what.
Right.
Yeah, but then people go change the property lines, is what he's saying, he's right.
Well, I'm just saying,
Well,
like,
no,
you got a property that's only 75 feet deep.
Russ, you're bringing this up on a night that we were
I'm
busy and
just-
I'm exhausted.
Well,
I
and
can
that's
stop
part-
here.
And that's part of the thing we talked about is.
We're going to enjoy talking about it January 15th.
Those are all.
We can do that.
And write those things down, because it's, we need answers for those things.
Well, and the thing is, it could be one of the things we talked about with buying the property lines is, when people were concerned about doing this and doing that, we said, well, the size property you have will kind of dictate the type of development that can go on that property.
Right, and I guess the other thing too is if we're gonna worry about what if, then we should actually look at the map to see if what if even exists.
Right.
because you're not creating,
How many
we're not
lots,
creating
how
lot
many lots
lines.
could that actually impact?
Right, so let's see if that would even, your concerns, maybe look at your concerns and look at the plan and see if that would even
But
exist.
he's also saying that this guy buys from this guy buys from that guy, and all of a sudden, he's got deeper than what he had before, and we've got a line here, well, now, he wants to put a business here, but he owns back here too, and why can't that be business if both of these guys were already deep, and so they've got business?
Because you followed the property, it's business.
Yeah, it's on the
It's business.
So you're kind of locking people in.
You are. So is it the 200 feet?
Yeah.
If you're 200 feet back and the back of your property is residential or beyond the 200 feet, then you can't do it. You can't go for
You got
variance.
your answer. We're out of luck.
So by following the property lines, at least it gives that person the ability to utilize his piece of property for
Right.
business use, because his property fronts 138.
Right.
It's kind of hard to worry about the what-ifs and worrying about somebody to do a development. Now we're thinking beyond the
Right,
corridor.
But I think as part of that, like, you got the shallow lot, and somebody has land or something behind, and he wants to buy it, I think there should be some way to do it, still on the stipulation that whatever goes back there is still coming out 138. The frontage is still gonna be that
But if
lot
it's in
that's on
if it's in
138.
residential, it's in residential. I don't, look at the way it is now. What is it now, 200 feet?
Yes.
So it's 200 feet off of 138, all the way
For
down.
instance, the property, if you look at where B&D construction is going, the property to the left of Brick Street, up the hill from there, the way the boundary is drawn now, there's a tiny sliver of the front corner of their property that's in the business zone.
Right.
Is that next door?
That
Yeah,
makes
no,
no sense.
it doesn't.
When 95% of that lot is residential.
Right.
Is that the bowling alley?
And I still think that if you're gonna have a business use, you should be required to have either 200 or 250 feet of frontage. You shouldn't have somebody with 50 or 75 feet of frontage putting a business in, because you can't get their traffic in and out safely.
Yeah, but Brick, they're gonna have to meet the requirements of business, the rules and regs of business. So if they don't have,
Still applies.
they still have to follow the rules and regs. So again, a lot of the small
So-
lot sizes are gonna be dictated by what is allowed.
So, if you currently have a residence with 100 feet of frontage,
There's one under your paper, Dan.
and it's in a business zone,
Under that piece of
though,
paper.
you're
Brian,
gonna
I
let
got-
somebody
we
have a
we have
building
some other
permit
things we
for a
have to discuss.
business?
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
If
so-
they only have 100 feet of frontage?
They need a variance.
Can I have my pen?
They don't meet the frontage, they need
I was just gonna-
pre-existing.
So they're okay with their pre-existing non-conforming
Non-conforming,
use?
but if they
because
change it, they would need
they
to
change
get-
the use.
They lose their grandfathering.
Well, that's enough of that.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, motion to adjourn is accepted.
I just,
Adjourned.
today, at